So I'm going to offer some really simple beginners basic yoga therapy, more restorative practice, because this is focused on opening, healing the base chakra and the corresponding areas to the base chakra. So you just leave out what feels too much and see if you can invite in an exploration just to sort of more approach this as like a self-massage to open the areas of congestion or blockage. And essentially we're working out the fight, flight, freeze patterning in the body. So a lot of this will be releasing the psoas, releasing the hip flexors. We're working the whole base levels of the body and the pelvis. And the main key theme here is to really breathe, to really kind of take consciousness in the in-breath to illuminate the areas of unconsciousness or stuckness or pain or congestion. And on the exhale to really let go. So even if you leave out a posture or you make a moderation for it, just really have the main key theme there is breath, accessing consciousness, opening to that pranic flow, breathing in deeply and emphasizing the exhale, lengthening, softening, releasing, the letting go factor on the exhale. So coming into that breath, just allow it to just normalize for a moment. You might have been busy doing things and so you've kind of come from more adrenalized breathing patterns where it's shallow, it's more clavicular in the chest. Give yourself a moment to just drop into this sort of belly of being. So you can kind of just feel into the lower center. Maybe placing your hands there on the lower abdomen. And just seeing if you can notice a rise and fall there without really efforting, just sort of relaxing into that center through feeling. Just awakening that somatic intelligence into this feeling center. And we're just going to adjust our posture. So just to begin with, having a little hip flexor opener. If you'd like to bring the soles of your feet together in Baddha Konasana, this is the cobbler pose. The soles of the feet come together. You might notice already it's quite tight in the hip flexors, in which case you can find anything, a rolled up pillow or a towel's are good as props. Or if you have a yoga block, you can put them both sides underneath just to support, just so that you can let them drop in and you can drop back, plug in the tailbone, working with the grounding cord. So you engage the tailbone and you feel the energetic extension of the earth reaching up to meet you and the sense of you rooting down. So this sense of rising, this upana movement of rising of the earth, giving to you this sort of huge amount of energy and vitality, and you just sort of relaxing into Gaia. So for that, you might notice where you're sort of hinged over and tight in the psoas. Just notice if you're rounding there, seeing if you can literally plug the tailbone into the ground. Have a little bit of a raise, maybe not as high as this, but you can have a little raise just placed under the sit bones. So it's as if you want to just intentionally scoop in the sit bones. So it's like drawing the bottom of the pelvis in together, which opens up the hips, and engage with the breath. Start to use Mula Bandha. So Mula Bandha, as a reminder, is the base core engagement. The base chakra engagement here creates this energetic seal, and you're just literally going to visualize drawing up like a golden pathway of light through the earth, up through Mula Bandha, so the pelvic floor engages. In keeping it engaged as you inhale, and the top of the inhale, the energy rises, this upana rising force, rising up all the way to the crown. Once it reaches the crown, then you release Mula Bandha and you let the trickle of light just trace down through the front of the body. And you're just having your eyes closed, allowing it passing through the front part of the body until it releases into the earth. And then again, like a circuit, you're creating this biofeedback loop again. You start to breathe in from the earth, drawing all the way up, engaging Mula Bandha, feeling the spine. You're moving through the Sushumna channel, the central life force channel, gathering vital life force from the earth, regenerating and passing through the whole chakra system in the center midline part of the body through the spine. And then it just sort of trickles down as you exhale, let the light trickle down like a golden pathway. nourishing, replenishing, releasing tension patterns out into the earth, relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the jaw. So then we can continue with this breath. Although I was demonstrating quickly, you can just stay with that for a good 5 minutes as the opening for our asanas. Engaging Mula Bandha, breathing in, releasing Mula Bandha, emptying out, rising up, releasing down. Until you really feel that circuit, even if you're not visually inclined, you can really feel somatically the drawing of the power from the earth, drawing on the negative electrons from the earth, recharging your cells, and feel that fresh sort of nourishment flooding into the brain, and then letting that energy pass down through the front. So you can continue that, and I'll just give you some demonstrations. You don't need to do this in real time. So from here, we want to just have this sense that, if we've collapsed forward a bit, maybe we need a bit more of a raise. We want to get it so that our tailbone's floating off the back of the raise. What we do is when we sit at work or we sit in the office, we kind of compress our tailbones into the chair or wherever we're sitting on, and we block the life force. We get exhausted, we get tired, we get stressed, we get into this caffeine culture because essentially we're not drawing energy from the earth anymore, and we're not releasing out into her. And one of the ways that we can just remedy this is just when we sit in a chair at work or whatever we're sitting on, we can roll up a towel or a yoga mat, and you just sit so that you just float the tailbone over the edge. So you can find whatever it is that you have handy to you to do that, so that you're able to literally drop back a little bit, hip flexors will open, the core will naturally engage, so you'll have this core support start to build, which will support the lower back from compressing, collapsing into the lower back region. So you'll notice your posture gets supported, and it's like you're really doing yoga at your desk in the moment, because that is essentially what yoga is. This is, like Amma says, yoga is any action done in full awareness. So the sense now being completely, totally aware of the form, just doing as little as much as you choose. So the next posture we're exploring is the fire log pose. So you are just like opening up the hip, give a little massage there into the hip flexor, and maybe just stretch out the legs so you get a little release down this IT band, the tension fascia lata down here. And you feel, this is also the gallbladder line, so some of that kind of groany stuff can come out as it can feel a little bit tight in there. So as you sort of release it, it's almost like just sort of massage the right glute open to release down the leg to help that opening, so that you can extend through the heel, curling the toes towards the shin, and doing the same on the other foot as well. And then seeing if you can just gradually start to coax that right knee down, leaning forward, maybe just coming into Jnana Mudra, which is the symbolic gesture of awakening wisdom, thumb and index, resting to the palm. This is a sense of a mudra that is relinquishing, letting go, and regenerating. So this whole sense now is dropping forward, keeping the extension through the heels, releasing the spine down, without just rounding the shoulders, letting the head lengthen, the neck lengthen, shoulders drawing away from the ears. And we're going to use sound here because this one can be quite intense. So I want to encourage you to, you're in your own space, so just go for it. It's just to encourage you to kind of, I release the hips, I release the survival tension, I release the fear out the body, I release all my holding. And you'll feel, pain release from the outer, the glutes, and you'll feel that the hips open up. So encourage the release, use the breath and really offer it up and give it to the earth. Sighs, releasing the jaw, relaxing the jaw that corresponds to the pelvis. As you release the pelvis, the same hinge and the jaw starts to release. So give it a good yawning stretch. And stay with it as long as you can. Breathe in. Deep breath. I let go, I let go. Use whatever dialogue comes, affirmation to facilitate that. And although I'm demonstrating quickly through all these postures, they need time. So give them time. Take, at least 5 minutes to go in and out. You can undulate, you can visit a pose, breathe in, release, back off. And then as you build up the associative muscle memory, you will notice that, the body trusts the process. It can surrender through the resistance, through the pain. And there's this opening. That opening we call the bindu, the portal you pass through. So you want to give it a sort of, you know, a sense of like massage. It can feel challenging, it can feel like strong, but you breathe through it, you sound through it. You know, releasing your base chakra, so it doesn't always feel pretty. It's quite, you know, gut level stuff. So then we can bring to the other side. Remember, just start by just sort of releasing that left glute, giving it a little self massage all the way up this IT band here. And this is also the gallbladder line. Stretch out so that you're not just sort of yanking the knee. Some of us might have tender knees, so you know, you don't have to go all the way into this. So you can just root down the base, root down the grounding cord, root the sit bones, drop back a little bit, lengthen, take an inhale, turn the palms up. Remember to keep the extension from the heel, curling the toes, and the same on the other foot. So it's like a fire log stacked on one another. Breathing in. Release the head, release the jaw, relax the jaw, draw the shoulders away from the ears. Breathe into it, find that inner smile that just goes, yes. I release these core primal tension patterns out of the body, all the survival stress. And let the breath be the key that opens the doorway. Stay with it, give it time, although I'm demonstrating briefly. Once you've done that second pose, you can be a little bit more open there in the hips. Let's just open, release the liver lines a little bit, and opening up through the adductors. So those can be primal grasping points as well. So if you again extend through your heels, so taking the legs as wide as you feel comfortable. The knees might be a little bit bent. If you feel your knees are tender here, again, you could use some kind of raise under both knees. You might use a rolled up towel or a jumper or a yoga mat, a blanket. Anything can support a soft nesting there. Taking an inhale, lengthen, lifting up for your crown. So you really feel as if someone's just pulling you up to create this floating feeling between each vertebra, a sense of space. So from here, take an inhale. And start to just sigh, lengthening the exhale. Really use sound. You need to awaken that internal massage through authentic sound. So it doesn't need to sound pretty. It can sound really guttural, a sense of like, you're releasing those hip flexes, you're releasing the glutes, and you can find that this can be challenging, this one. It's a real base chakra opener. So take your time with it and use the wave-like undulation to coax the body into surrender rather than forcing it to some ideal you think you need to get to. There is nowhere you need to get to. You are being with what is, massaging the body into openness. Even if this is here, this is as far as you get. You just pulse, breathe, listen, dive inside into that somatic intelligence awakening. Use the breath. You're breathing into where it's tensioning, where it's holding, where it's in lockdown, and you're coaxing it into surrender like a wave just crashing in at the shore. Until we surrender to whatever point we get to, dropping down towards the earth. And notice when we're really tight here in the hips, we tend to overcompensate by leading with our shoulders, rounding at the shoulders, and sort of collapsing in at the solar plexus. If you know that's your tendency, it's because this area being tight, we overcompensate by lurching and reaching with the shoulders. This is the whole pelvic girdle. So often when we've got shoulder issues, really it's coming from our pelvis. So we're looking at these places of compensation or overcompensation from areas of resistance and lockdown, fear and protection. So that's why we need breath. We need soft, gentle, yielding movements to coax the body into opening. So you just take your time with this, really play with it, back off, go back in. And we're going to create a side opening in the same position, taking an inhale, sort of spiraling up. We're literally feeling that the origin of the arm movement is here in our right hip. So let that sense of growth happen, spiraling the ribs, winding out the waist. So it's sort of opening space through the intestines, taking a deep breath in. Wind out the wrist all the way to the fingertips, rising up. exhale, reaching out and lengthening as you slide into that opening. And you might just sort of pause and pulse. You don't need to go really far, but just so that you feel that lengthening release down this whole gallbladder line. So you're kind of helping the body open and breathe. Feel that you can breathe into your back ribs like gills of a fish or umbrellas, just expanding, opening. So not just front loading, collapsing. See if you can feel as if you're sliding along a wall. And there's full awareness occupying the form, total awareness, front, side and back. As you reach out, stretch out the arm. Exhaling, drawing down as if you're going to meet that other foot. Some of you may do if you're used to that. Or if you'd like to use a belt, or you can use a blanket, anything, you just wrap it around that foot. And you hold on to it with your left hand. And you just draw it towards you a little bit. And you just keep that length, curling the toes in. If you're holding onto your belt. And then you might be able to reach over and hold onto the belt this way. And draw it a little bit. As you spiral around to rotate, look up at the sky. Then you start to feel that deep release through the waist, out of that right hip, where we're usually compressing, collapsing. We need to lengthen and open space. So use a blanket, use a sort of prop or a belt tying around your leg and draw yourself towards it with the right hand. Then reaching up. Inhale, drawing over. Maybe this hand now grabs the belt and draws in it as you spiral round. So instead of collapsing forwards, see if you can open the chest. Keep the chest open, lifted, lengthening through, releasing the side body, releasing the waist out of the left hip. Stay with this for some time, just pulsing, backing off, going in, this undulating movement that creates harmonics in the body. Then the fascia has time to catch up. It takes about 7 breaths for the muscles, the tissue to catch up with the nerve impulse. So we need to give each posture time, not just as quickly as I'm demonstrating. So from those side openers, we're now just going to have a sort of stretch out from the body. If you want to place the sole of the foot into the inner adductor line, plant the hand down and plant it just so supported behind you. So the arm is straight, so the shoulders are over the wrist. And then start to just point and release. So the front kidney line down through to the stomach line opens up, that earthing current, the earthing meridian line draws down. The toes engage down if you can. And then start to lift the body, float the glutes, lifting the hips up to the sky, reaching over, arching through. Take a breath up from your foot. As if you're breathing up from the earth, arching over like a rainbow. Keep pressing the hips up to the sky. We're not in a side plank, so we're not hinging at the hips, closing in the psoas. We're keeping space, opening at the groin, turning, spiraling around so the navel faces up to the sky, reaching up and over. In breath and exhale, seating down again. And you can feel this beautiful flush and vitality of the pranic flow moving through the body. And we swap sides. So really take your time with this, rising up. You can use the mudra, Jnana mudra, rising and engaging the toe down to the ground. And you might notice that this leg here can come parallel to the front of your yoga mat. Inhale, turn the hips to the sky. Engage the navel towards the spine. Breathe up from the foot all the way up and over. All the way to the fingertips like a deep rainbow arch. And exhale when you come round, just spiraling round. Take your time with that. And from here we're just coming into a little stomach line release, but also it is the earth channel in the body. We allow that to drop down on our shins. If you're really uncomfortable on your knees, you can use a little block here, or again a rolled up cushion, anything that will makeshift to give you a raise so there's no pressure on your knees if you have any tenderness there. So we might just be sitting comfortably and the weight is dropped into our block. It's not down into our knees, but we don't want to have our feet turned out. We'd like to have them drawn in, coaxing them in under the glutes. If possible, you have your heels underneath on this sciatic line to release this acupressure point. So the sciatic line is the fear line, also the bladder line in the body. So you can, we've been working with this on the healing level, you can now let the body catch up to release this. So you feel a little bit of an acupressure with your heels there, just at what I call the thut, the line between the butt and the thigh. It's just a made up word. So from here, we're just going to awaken the spine, but with the Mula Bandha engagement. So engaging it and keeping it engaged. Breathing in, opening the chest, opening the throat, and emptying out. When you empty out, you really draw your navel in towards the spine and make a hollow body, completely expelling the air. Rounding the body like this so that you can feel this hollow body, releasing the thoracic spine, and then inhale, opening, lifting the chest, drawing the shoulders down. Hands are on these stomach lines, kidney lines. Opening the throat, deep breath in. There's a massage for your thyroid going on here to help balance the hormones, and then emptying out. And you can play around with this concaving, arching in your own time in a fluid dance-like way. And you can do this to music, can really help you just stay in the somatic exploration more, that it's a dance rather than these fixed held postures. Keep staying fluid with it so that you can actually really dive inside and unlock the tensions. So from that awakening in the spine here, we can now go into a little tabletop. So in the tabletop, we plug our hands down. So we're lengthening the spine, we don't collapse in at the lumbar. Drawing the tailbone away from your crown, like there's a two-way force. This extension and flexion, you feel drawing forward from your crown and drawing back from your base. Plug the hands in, so even the roots of the knuckles are engaged. So the root of the index finger, you're not dumping all the weight into the wrists. We need to really protect the wrists, so you can start to feel more of an engagement through the knuckles. And the shoulders are above the wrists. Start to spiral the eyes of the elbows in as you press your heart forward and sinking through the lumbar, opening the throat. Deep inhale here. And you're awakening the spine. It's like the Kundalini channel is being opened from the release in the base. Lifting up through the back of the heart, drawing the navel in. And going forward. When you're here in this concave, you feel the eyes of the elbows rolling, facing forward. The spiraling, and that movement engages the triceps, engages the lats, draws them down the back, draws the shoulders away from the ears. Inhaling, exhaling, and you do this in your own rhythm, in your own time. Then we're set up to come into another very deep base opening. We're going to take a wide stance in Balasana. Child's pose, take your knees wide and start to just sink the sit bones towards the heels and just sort of snuggling in there till you find that perfect fit. Again, you might find you want to use a little bit of a block, and then you can start to rest your head here. Or you might like the block more just at the sternum and the head drops down. You can use a makeshift block again, or rolling up a blanket or a towel, and just like a bolster lying through the front of the body, you can rest on it like a baby koala, just sort of hugging it and keeping your head on the bolster. So from here we just need to really give it time to sink and drop in. Closing the eyes, diving into the stillness, releasing the hip flexors, grounding the sit bones down towards the heels, but also stretch forward for a moment and then release the hands. Breathe up from the earth and release into her. And yes, you'll feel the hip flexors opening and releasing, but you'll just keep dropping deeper into the earth. And just use some sighs here, some deep somatic sighs to breathe in. Sighing out. Take your time in this restorative posture. So continue with that for at least a good sort of 5 minutes, just staying there, maybe wiggling around, maybe coming out, going back in, trying different variations. If you've had your face facing one way, then check to turn it the other way. And the other variation you might have to do with this one is just threading the hands, left palm under, right on top, threading through, releasing the shoulders away from the ears and relaxing the shoulders down and just letting the face squidge into the ground. Let everything drop into this earthing posture. Just becoming baby-like in that way of just surrendering your holding. Just deep diving into the innocence. From this Balasana posture, we're just going to have a psoas release. So the body's a little bit more soft, a little bit more malleable, a little bit open by now. Bring your soles of your feet together if you can, and make sure you have a blanket or a towel, something squidgy, that you can take your knees wider than your yoga mat, so you can actually have support there underneath your knees. My feet are coming together, at least having the toes drawing towards each other. I'm drawing forward till my spine lengthens out, and I'm just going to start to pulse to lower myself down as I feel the psoas release. Then I might come into a second degree, so a further calibration. This is optional, it gets quite strong. Breathing all the time through that until I might surrender into the earth and release the head down, and the feet are remaining together. They might want to ping apart, but you're just coaxing that sense of touching or gliding the toes together at least, maybe the soles meet as well. And you'll start to feel, as you take your time in this one, it needs a good 2 minutes at least, you'll start to feel a quake, and that is the nervous system defragging the conditioning. Because essentially yoga is about moving the karmas out of the body, and essentially we start to work to release this fight, flight, freeze. So we have to defrag the nervous system. This is all the preparatory postures for coming into the tray release, which we're going to give you in the next video.